My name is Ian, and I'm with the AutoHub show. This is our sixth season, and we're doing a one-on-one show today, which is not live, even though it says it behind, but that's all good. And we have Brad Parker on today, and Brad's going to tell us a lot about what he does and what he's all about. But more importantly, Brad, why did you choose the adventure that is automotive? How did that happen?
Yeah, no, good question. I think kind of like you were telling me before about your past. I actually started in the boat business. My family, my granddad actually started in the boat business in 1927. So I
Wow.
was that young kid that grew up cleaning boats, working in the parts department and going through all divisions of a boat dealership. But anyway, long story short, I ended up managing a few dealerships for our family in Florida. I started a yacht brokerage business. So very familiar with dealership operations. Similar to automotive, workflow and process is almost identical. Unit economics and volume is, very different. But workflow and process from a dealership standpoint is actually very similar. Um, so I've always, I've always been a big fan of cars. And I think from a software standpoint, I ended up starting a software company in the boat and yacht industry that was kind of a need from my daily operations. For the yacht brokerage industry, it was all paper, print, scan, and fax. And so that business became kind of the LegalZoom and DocuSign of the yachting
Okay.
industry. And so, getting involved in transactions, getting involved in high dollar transactions. And we also started our own finance company. We did title and registration around the country. Um, and I think even as someone growing up in dealership environment, and also being part of this, software company that we started that ended up doing really well, um, I've always been intrigued by like the private sale. And it always intrigued me that okay, there's all this software over here, but like because I bought and sold stuff, whether it was a car or boat, meeting up in the grocery store parking lot, just the randomness of like that private party sale. Um, and so after I exited my last company and thinking about what to do, I kept thinking about that like automotive private sale. And I was intrigued by automotive because the volume, economics are just mind blowing. I mean,
Yeah.
it's crazy how much metal moves every single day in automotive on different, even different segments of the industry, from wholesale to, repo to remarketing to retail. It's insane. Um, but I was super intrigued by the private party market that I didn't realize it at the time, but it's like almost over 47% of total used car sales are private party.
Yeah.
Um, and so anyway, that's so from a kind of a process workflow mentality, I was super intrigued by why is there not an easy way if I wanted to buy your car that's like over 10 grand, how do we make that easy, safe, and transparent? And so I think that's where my journey started with Private Auto in the beginning is wanting to make a platform that is had full trust, transparency, and really maximized value for the two parties without feeling like there was a middleman in the middle.
So is it consumer to consumer? Is it consumer to dealer? Is it like how does that work?
Yeah, so I think that's where it started. So private auto is consumer to consumer.
Okay.
And it's like a marketplace without scammers plus Venmo without limits.
Okay.
It's a true transactional marketplace for consumer to consumer. And so we started that in 2022, and then, but throughout that journey, as we've kind of announced it and talk about it, and I talk about, I've kind of been building an open, on LinkedIn as I talk about the company and what we're learning, and um, we've actually had a significant amount of dealers reach out to us over the years. And it came to the point where it was enough dealers reaching out to us and automotive industry people that were like, okay, because they were interested in that technology for them to make it easy to acquire cars off the street.
Right.
So, because one of the things that's we're more of a fintech. in our ability, like you and I could do a deal for 50 grand on a Sunday afternoon at 4 p.m. And you would legally, physically get those funds in that very second. And so we have created some unique technology that allows for instant and seamless transactions. Um, and so anyway, that kind of brings us to Deal Now. And I think that might have started why we got invited on the show here. But Deal Now is taking that technology that we have and making it and packaging it and having it purpose driven for a dealer
Okay.
to make vehicle acquisition seamless and simple. So that's the start of Deal Now, in what it does, so questions about that.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously, there's a few competitors in the space. We interviewed one used car week a couple of years ago called Taibo Cars from China, which was kind of interesting. They're a dealer and they do an online marketplace, and it was kind of a funny interview because they were at used car week and only one person in their team spoke English, so we had to vet these questions, and it was kind of interesting because no one kind of knew why they were there,
Yeah.
which got them a little nervous. But also, I had the opportunity to see Steve Greenfield interview one of the founders of Carvana. He wasn't
Hmm.
there in person because their stock was tanking at the time. But
Hmm.
when you look at people like him, you look at people like Amazon getting in the market, you look at VinQ, and you look at Van, when you're a dealer and you're saying, listen, I want to acquire used cars, but I also want to sell used cars,
Hmm.
and I'm interfacing with consumers and maybe other dealers, you know, how does that, how does that allow me to expand my inventory, expand my sales, and make it easy for me to do that because algorithms scare me? Like, how does that work?
Yeah, I think a lot of tools nowadays are lead gen, where they're creating. There's a lot of tools that have shown up since COVID,
Yeah,
where they're creating a lot of just buy opportunities for dealers.
yeah,
But at the end of at the end of the day, the dealer's using the same clunky old process that they've always had to actually, sign paperwork, do the transaction, transfer the funds. A lot of them still require the person to come in and pick up a paper check,
right.
and the process is pretty clunky. Um, Now your Carvanas of the world and stuff, I think they're awesome. They're pushing they're innovating and pushing the envelope on really I would put them in the category of an innovative dealership,
Yeah,
the way that they acquire cars and sell cars. But the majority of these independent and even franchise dealers are not set up to operate at that level of efficiency. Um, and so that's kind of where we came in. And I think one of the things we had the opportunity of learning in the armpit of transactions, consumer to consumer.
yeah,
You don't know if seller's legit, buyer's legit, car's legit, or the money's legit. You don't know if anything's legit. And so it actually, as I look back on our journey, it prepared us to be an optimal solution for dealers because of the fraud prevention that we've had to adopt to satisfy that sale and bring trust and transparency to
yeah,
it. So the things that we do to avoid fraud and making sure that these sellers are legit, the things that we do, because like on our platform, you can do direct DMV title checks. You can have them scan and upload front and back title. You can check the lien holder. You can look up the payoff on the car. You can have, and it's all on one platform. A lot of dealers might be using miscellaneous tools, some manual, some online for different aspects of this process. But the acquisition process is not just a lead gen tool, but you can actually do the paperwork. You can verify the title, verify the individual, verify the payoff. You can even facilitate payoff, and you can fund that person on the spot. So it is it brings a level of efficiency to the back office that hasn't existed for that type of sale. And I think the timing is perfect too, because over the last 5 years in the automotive industry, you've seen number one source of inventory is trade-in.
yep,
Number two is like, the service customers or the people close to them, and then it used to be number three or the number two was the auction. But for a lot of dealers, that's being replaced by street purchases
yep.
because the cars are more make ready, there's less conditioning, um, and anyway, it's kind of taken the number two spot. And so having a tool that focuses on that priority and makes it more safe and simple to close that transaction um, is why we feel that our timing is perfect for the market.
So as you see, I mean, obviously you don't want to deal with, Vinny in the back with a briefcase of money or something like that. Not to use an example of, or the guys that I used to sell cars with, they'd show up and the money was either under their mattress or it was smelling like
People still
some
do it
sort of
today.
smoky green stuff. I remember this guy came with a garbage bag full of money, like in Scarface. I was like,
Yeah.
dude, like I can't take a bunch of questionable money. Like that's not gonna happen. But when you're looking at it and you're saying in the current automotive market, which I think is interesting this year, as we've seen the rate of change, not only North America wide, but globally, as we see shifts in different things from different political sides. Do you think the acquisition for used cars is going to be accelerated by the fact that maybe new cars getting more expensive? Dealers don't want to stock a lot of new cars because of flooring, whatever that might be. Are you hearing from dealers in the market that this is going to accelerate the move towards acquisition?
I do, and I think there's, like you pointed out, there's a number of forces, still at play. Depending on, what tariffs do, depending on new car prices are continuing to rise, new margins are continuing to get suppressed. Interest rates are still high, so as those, they may plateau for a little bit, and eventually they'll come back down.
Yep,
But all those pressures still exist, even with the interest rates. So as that drives more retail pressure, it does force more people to look at used cars. The other thing with that is it's becoming more of a competitive landscape of getting quality used cars.
right,
So being able to have a pool of cars to go after, but I think a lot of it is speed of execution. So, a lot of dealers are only comfortable doing stuff within their backyard. I've talked to several of them, and that's why they're interested in using our tool because they're like, "Oh, wait a minute, we might expand our reach to 150 or 200 miles or something where the logistics still aren't that expensive to add shipping to it, but we could just ship it from their house to our dealership and go ahead and do that a long distance deal using your tool."
yeah,
But I think that's the key is having tools that you have more trust and transparency with the acquisition, but being able to strike on street purchase deals, faster that otherwise you may not have even considered it, or
right.
you weren't able to operate as quickly.
What about like a geographic? Well, let's just use, for example, Hendrick or Sonic or Penske or Lithia or whatever that has multiple locations, and they want to say, "Hey, I want to expand my buying, but more importantly, I may want to relocate those cars, in different places depending on market demand." I mean, what in terms of data or in terms of results are they seeing as they scale up acquisition as like a larger group, maybe 15 dealers or 100 or whatever that number is?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of and some of what we're bringing to market as well that we have our beta group on, using right now and getting feedback, but is market data. I know there's other tools out there that have been out there forever, and
Yeah,
some have kind of Microsoft 2000 vibes to them, and but they're great tools. But I think there's a lot of there's also what do we really need to see, and I also think that there's a lot of great book values out there, but every dealer will tell you, oh, I like that one, I don't like that one, or oh, that one just completely went out of whack because of it just didn't catch up quick
yeah,
enough. Everyone can kind of argue the validity of the book values at any point in time. But I think the thing that doesn't lie is what is the retail pulse? What's the
right.
retail pulse out there? Because at the end of the day, even when I operated as a dealer, I knew there were certain things I could chuck the book out the window. It's like, oh, I can sell that. I know I can sell this for this price in my market all day long.
Yeah,
And I think for those scenarios, like one of the things that we're doing is bringing when you're looking to analyze a car, not only seeing your market, but immediately seeing the other markets around you, even in other states, and being able to not only make decisions on could it be good for your market, but oh, wait a minute, what if I could like
yeah.
flip that over here in this
Relocate it.
market
Yeah,
over here? I mean, it could bring 10% more, 20% more just by shifting it over here to this market right here. So I
yeah.
think there's a lot of good data, but I think packaged the right way with that kind of focus, I think will help a lot of dealers in that scenario too.
So what about the dealer who said, "Hey, I used to buy at Odessa, I used to buy at Manheim, I used to buy online at say Open Lane, and I want to basically my goal is to eliminate that and buy direct from a consumer." Like, what kind of results have they seen, and can they realistically eliminate auctions from their buying?
Yeah, I think auctions will always still serve a place. I mean, at the end of the day, to be able to facilitate a high volume of remarketing cars, repossession cars, off lease cars, and in order to just get instant liquidity on a massive group of cars quickly, I think there's always going to be a place for auctions. But as certain tools develop and it creates almost spot liquidity for even down to the individual. And I think if you think about that for a second, where, I almost envision a world where your trade-in doesn't rely on the specific dealer that you're purchasing the car from. What if I had the ability to get instant liquidity on my car from maybe a dealer in another market that would actually pay a lot more for the car because it brings a lot more in that market? And I think having the right tools where the consumers can also get involved
Yeah.
and put their cars in to get instant liquidity, there's something to that. There's something to that where, which in turn, if that's successful, that can create an influx of opportunities for dealers at the same time.
So what about dealers who say, listen, and I'll use Livy as an example. They bought a small dealer group in Canada called FAF. So they own about 20 stores in Canada and they own about, I don't know, 300 in the US. And some of these groups are buying groups like Lookers in the UK. Do you envision, say, vehicles moving between markets, be it like Mexico, Canada, US, or international even? Do you see that? I mean, what's your long-term plan there?
Eventually, from a software standpoint, that does make it tricky when you start to go cross borders.
Yeah.
Depending on laws and all the compliance and stuff. However, there as from our company standpoint, we have strategically developed our company different than other companies who will have more red tape in
Yeah.
those scenarios. Um, because we are more of a fintech, we're more of a technology layer. So whether it's consumer to consumer or consumer to dealer or dealer to dealer, the flow of funds is technically and physically going between those parties.
Right.
We're not an escrow agent in the middle. The way that these financial accounts are created, the way that there's connectivity between them, it allows us to almost go operate in all states overnight without any the compliance that might exist for other companies. And technically, excuse me, we don't take possession of the vehicle either. So we are kind of that Airbnb, Uber, like,
Yeah.
where there's a lot of metal moving on the platform. However, we're not taking possession of any of it. We're the technology layer that bridges it together. And so I think with our Deal Now product too, as more and more dealers come on board with this platform, as we officially go live with it and roll it out, now you have more dealers that are connected on this same financial layer behind the scenes. And so now transactions almost become instant and seamless between them. And they'll have all the other compliance tools in the middle for checking titles, transferring titles, and even be able to ship driveway to driveway and have that part of the equation and quote that it's all on one platform. So I think the name of the game is removing friction, removing those middle steps, the middle players out of it, and using technology to infuse, to really bring these dealer to dealer together or consumer to consumer, and even connecting the consumer to the dealer in a more seamless and efficient way.
What about that dealer who says, and I'm just taking this from my days in a dealership.
Yeah,
Customer comes in and says, "Yeah, I want to buy a used S2000 to pick a random car. You don't have any. You never see them. Where can I get one?" And obviously, there's sites like Cars and Bids and Bring a
yeah.
Trailer and whatever, eBay, and probably Amazon. But is it possible for a dealer to say, "Listen, to pre-sell or even get a vehicle quickly for a customer who says, 'Hey, I want, a 1998 or a 2008 BMW in purple or whatever the color is.
Yeah.
Is it possible for that dealer to say, think outside the box and say, yeah, what is it you're looking for? Like, what banana are you looking for kind of deal?
Yeah, absolutely. So like our behind the scenes network will have almost over 9 million cars of dealer used. We'll even have some private party cars on there. So it'll be kind of a super highway of vehicles that could be transacted on immediately. So there is a case in that scenario, once we had a matching dealer and inventory there where they could essentially almost acquire that car in a matter of minutes and then be ready to retail it to their customer.
Oh,
So
okay.
that scenario would exist.
Yeah, so if you're looking for that weird car, and I always use the example of Hendrick because at the time I worked with them at 96, and they had a call center I worked with out of California, and they had these customers call. Yeah, I'm looking for like, a 2015 BMW 3 Series. Like, okay, what color,
Yeah.
what configuration? The customer would be like, what? I'm like, yeah, I got 100 stores. I can relocate it today. Like, when were you thinking you wanted to buy it? You want me to relocate it now? So I thought that was
Yeah.
interesting. But more importantly, if that dealer says, hey, maybe I only have three locations or three rooftops, or I have eight, or I have one, they could leverage that and obviously become a bigger network. How quickly could they get started? And what does that look like from a cost perspective? Like what are they, onboarding and cost, like how quickly could they get this rolling?
Yeah, no, that's another that went into our thought process in doing this. So technically someone could be up and running in less than 2 minutes. So the ID verification. So one of the things too, it's like just like we had to do in private party, which was actually a little more difficult, we're doing it with dealerships. So not only do you come in and you sign up real quick, but you have, as an individual, you have to get verified, and it does normal possession check with your phone. It does a quick KYC. It verifies the individuals for the dealership, but it also we do KYB, know your business, and because of banking compliance.
Yeah.
So we actually do a lot behind the scenes to verify the entity, the business. We also need to verify the beneficial owners. That sounds like a lot, but we've made it so that you could actually do all that in less than 60 seconds.
Wow.
And then you also set up your wallet. So you basically set up your DealNow wallet within the platform. And you can, in some cases, you could connect your floor plan company to it. You could connect your operating account to it, but it ends up being your own account for your business to do transactions. Um, and the cool thing is we have technology connected to those accounts. So if you're doing a deal with a consumer, we have same day ACH, RTP, real time payment. We also are adding FedNow to it. So because I think most banks are going to be adopting that more so than
Yeah.
RTP in the future. So the simple version is we have quick payment technology connected to those accounts. So now you can provide a better customer experience where whether the person was standing on your lot and you literally just did the whole deal on your phone, or they could be in their driveway 100 miles away. And you could even wait till the shipper was there picking the car up and verifying it. And
Yeah.
you could transfer the funds and they could look in their mobile banking. And for most banks, it would already be in their account.
Wow. Interesting.
Even outside of business hours, Saturday, Sunday, weekends, holidays, that's the difference too. So we give the dealers the ability to operate with such a high level of efficiency that really doesn't exist today. And so those are just some of the benefits of like this
Yeah.
network.
So what about that independent used car lot versus a franchise dealer? What about the super used car lots where the dealers like, for example, Beaver Toyota that sells a lot of used metal?
Mhm.
Are you open to like any dealer or does it have to be a franchise dealer?
Yeah, no, we're designed to be open for any dealer, but right now in our beta group, I would say we have a good mix of both. We have big franchise dealers, we have some boutique independents, we have some kind of boutique, wholesalers for, even exotics and
Yeah.
cars like that. So we have a good mix of independent franchise, wholesaler, and just really dialing it into the different nuances of the business. But so right now, phase one is acquisition, like being able to do that
Yeah.
street purchase easily. Number two is wholesale. So if one dealer wanted to just, hey, let's just do a deal now.
Yeah.
Like if they already know they want to acquire that, hey, let's just do a deal now. They can do paperwork, transfer funds, do everything real quick. So wholesale will be number two. Retail will be number three. We're not there yet, but that's the number three on the roadmap to
Right.
turn that on once we get momentum and volume on the first two.
And what about like certified used cars for the manufacturer, or you know, uh, manufacturers say, "Hey, we want to incentivize this for them to buy a certain quality used car to be certified." And is that any kind of discussion you're doing, or
Not right now. It's one of those things where, as we, open door number one, create momentum, open door number two, create momentum, those opportunities will come at the right time.
okay,
I think for right now, if it is a used dealer that already has a CPO, car, the other dealers know that. So if they're doing a deal between each other, they already know, that
yeah,
there's already understanding there. So I think it just enhances that current listing as it is but once we start bringing those transactions to the consumer and then creating opportunities for the manufacturer, that's when, those opportunities will come in time when we reach that point.
And what about that less than perfect credit dealer, the subprime dealer, the guy in, I don't know, deepest darkest Boston or deepest darkest Manhattan, or pick your city, that's selling cars where they have a customer, but they need a very specific car to put them into? Is that something they can
Yep.
do?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I think because we're not retail yet, we don't have those options. However, we've already spoken with a number of different, finance companies that are interested in partnering with us. And it's part of the plan. I ran a finance company before in the boat and yacht industry, so very familiar with the process. And I'm actually really excited about that component to the business. So once we do start adding retail to the platform, honestly, that gets really exciting. When you look at the financial layer that we've created and the way that the money moves, there's an opportunity for somebody to apply, pick your car, meet the stipulations, and if approved, the second you do certain actions, like you sign that bill of sale, funds could be slid right into that deal account. And a deal could happen instantly, whether with another private party or with a dealer. And another thing different, especially for these independent dealers, it'll be unique about a finance deal versus a lot of other scenarios. They'll be funded on the spot. They will physically have the cash in their account in that very moment, and they're not waiting for days or weeks for it to be replenished from a finance company. So,
Right.
from a cash flow perspective, this financial layer will allow for instant transactions, but instant funding.
Fantastic. So obviously dealers sometimes aren't the most sophisticated cats, not to beat them up by any stretch. You guys obviously do a lot of heavy lifting, do the training for them as well. How would they find out about sort of how to get more information, do a demo, that kind of thing? Obviously, details will be below, but how would they find out about how to do that? And how easy is it for them to do?
Yeah, great question. So the best place to go is dealnow.com. We currently have and there's a dealer tab, so there's more information about what we offer right now for dealers. Right now, there's just a place to just get access. We will change that to just the ability to sign up.
Yeah.
We're probably within the next month. Um, but really, onboarding is very easy. It's very simple, and I think this goes back to the benefit of us learning in peer to peer. Over the past few years, we've started having more and more deals where people go, they're even doing a deal for over $100,000, on a Porsche or something like
Yeah.
that. And they don't even reach out to our support team. We see accounts created, we
Yeah.
see verification done, we see funds verified, added into the platform. They sign paperwork, they have their closing, they do a deal, and we get sold notification. And
Wow.
so we have been like refining this platform over the past 2 years and grinding out friction points, because at the end of the day, you don't think you need to call support when you send your buddy $20 on Venmo or something. It's like, and really that's our goal. How do we
Yeah.
make this so simple, stupid, and so trusting and transparent that you could actually walk through without feeling you need to contact somebody for support? And do we have support? Yes, we do. However, our goal is to make it so that you can just do a deal from start to finish and not feel you need to talk to anybody else.
So even though old school car dog Herb Tarlick type of guy can get it done.
That's right. And you know what? I've been weathered by this because remember, my last company took the whole yachting industry from paper to digital. And the demographic there is maybe even worse than automotive for the ones using the technology. And so it's one of those things where and I think this is another good point. I think I come from a dealership perspective. I value relationships. And I think some of these tech companies come in thinking that, oh, this technology is going to take the place of like the dealer or this or,
Yeah,
the relationship. No, not at all. It's actually going to enhance the relationship 10x. You're still creating that relationship. You're still creating connection. You're still making that person want to do business with you. But at the end of the day, if you're able to, once they say yes, if you're able to close that sale in 5 minutes versus 3 hours, do you think that's going to increase your customer relationship or decrease it?
absolutely. Yeah. You got to make it easy. And I mean, I always use the Amazon model, but you could use even the Apple model or pick your
Yeah.
model. Uh, basically, it should be as easy as possible. If you have to explain it, it's probably too complicated. Well,
That's
thanks
right.
very much for taking the time today. There will be details below. Obviously, they can have a demo or reach out to a member of your team. And my dad was a sailboat guy, so I understand the
Oh,
boat
cool.
challenges. Not that I'd ever owned one, but he was a big sailboat guy. So, it was a costly asset. And I actually have a buddy who worked in the car business who now works in boating sales in Vancouver, where I used to live. And
Yeah.
he likes it because it's a completely different purchase process.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
people aren't really thinking rationally. They're like, yeah, it's kind of like an RV sale. It's like buying it for, I don't know, forever and a day or whatever that model looks like. But I
Yeah.
appreciate the time today and really
Thank you so much.
exciting if you're looking to buy cars and buy them simply, buy them stupidly, I guess. So you're not having to figure out a bunch of stuff. We'll make it easy, right?
That's right. That's right. Ian, I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
What's it that Staples button? That was easy.
That's right. That's right. The easy button.
Push
Yeah.
this button. That was easy.
Yeah. So you know what? That may become a new staple in the industry. When you're going
There
to
we
do
go.
a deal, hey, let's just do a deal now.
Yeah,
That's our
that was easy. Click.
That's right.
All
Oh,
right.
all right, Ian. Appreciate it.